the faith aspect of things has helped me immensely, because now when like stressful things happen or there's stuff going on, like even my husband, he's like, you don't panic like you used to. My identity is really strong. And a big part of that is because of what I believe to be true based on like what God says about me. When we lead from a place of insecurity or jealousy, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, we are so focused on like the negative side of things that could happen. We don't actually have to show people who we are. It was like a very good experience, and like the message really spoke to me that day. It was about like what you need to let go of, when like I immediately thought about like my mom and like things growing up and stuff. And I'm like trying not to sob in church. Hello everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I am your host and CEO of Vitality OET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness coaching company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you start experiencing so many changes in this time of your life, whether it's the hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, brain fog, or waking around the middle. That seems to have come out of absolutely nowhere, despite you not changing anything. So you go back to those tried and true methods of cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio, yet it feels like nothing is working. You are putting in all this effort and you are just moving backwards. But we know now that your body is inherently different now that you've gone through these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to really help you understand how your body changes in this time of your life, so you can reach those health and fitness goals, feel in control and at home in your body again, live a life full of vitality, and really understand how to take care of this new body of yours. So today is a little bit of a different episode. It is actually an interview that I had with my friend Kim. She is incredible, and we talked a lot about faith and fitness and fat loss and our identity and how that has impacted, our health, our well-being, what it's like being an entrepreneur, sharing when you start actually following in your faith, because you'll hear our vulnerable stories about how we fell away from it, what brought us back, what our concerns were, and just so much deep stuff. And so I really hope that this makes you curious. I hope that you learn a lot. You'll get to learn a lot more about us. And so I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did having it.
Stephanie, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. I'm so excited. It feels like it's been a long time, but not.
Exactly. I just did my 100th episode, and you were in the first. Thank you. You were in my first season, and I was so honored to have you on because it was so important. Women who are listening to this know, you and I were just talking offline, metabolism, menopause. We could talk all day about that. And and we're going to shift the gears. We may get into a little bit of that later, but you are the founder and CEO of Vitality OET. And I've been dying to ask you, because I didn't ask you the last time, what is OET?
Everyone asks me this. So it's out of pure laziness, I'm going to be honest. When I had my clinic, because I used to work as a manual osteopathic therapist as well, personal trainer, exercise therapist. So I had my own clinic. So that clinic was called Vitality Osteopathic and Exercise Therapy. And so I had shortened it to Vitality OET. And so nutrition was always part of it. But then I closed my clinic and I'm like, I don't want to go through the whole name changing, reapplying, the rebranding, all of those things, getting your like logo like trademarked and stuff, right? And I was like, you know what? We're just going to shorten it. And that's just what it is. So it is out of laziness, but I love the word vitality. Like to me, it's just what we want to be. It's like what defines all living things. It's strength. It's all the things. And I think it's just a very big thing that I always want to strive for. And I think people should want to live and reach vitality. So that's where that name came out of it. But the OET it's purely laziness. I don't want to rename my company once you were in too deep,
I love that because I thought I was missing something in menopause, like we had another acronym or something. But I'm excited because today we're going to kind of shift gears. I want to know everything that's going on. When I first met you and we were having our whole conversation around perimenopause, and now what's really funny is I've noticed that a lot of us have shifted from not just perimenopause, but to postmenopausal women, because if they haven't really gotten the hormones worked out, the same stuff is going on. So we're covering everybody. That's one thing I've noticed. But I think you had just gotten married. I think you had just become Cressweller. So, yeah. So that had just happened, but update everybody. What's the latest thing that's really not super new, but It kind of is.
Yeah, I have an 8-month-old baby boy, which is crazy. It's wild. It's been cool though. It's been nice to like, he kind of gets to grow up with vitality and, you know, everybody knows who he is. And all the women in our program are like always wanting to see pictures and stuff. And it's been really fun, but it's been cool to kind of document that journey and like the hormone recovery aspect of things. And then also, you know, having a kid has definitely, like, even when I got pregnant, like faith became a lot stronger and more important. And it's even more important and relevant for us now. And boundaries around work. I'm just like, wow, like I didn't realize how much I worked until I had a kid. And I was like, oh, like I want to be with my son, but I also want to work. And then it's just like this whole different, it makes you realize how much you were actually doing before. And it's very tough, like being like a CEO and juggling a big team and wanting to spend time with your family and your friends and your son and also run a business. And it's just a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing. And it's a lifelong commitment because, you know, I see pictures of him and I love that age. And, you know, my kids are all in their 20s. So it's hard to imagine that I survived those years. So I watch you going through it. I'm like, Mama, just hang with it. It's going to be okay. It's going to get worse, better. And, you know, it is. And then I think about it, even in their 20s, I try very hard to let go because I know it's best for them to live their lives, but it never goes away. When God gives you this child, it's like him watching over us forever. He's like, here, this is what it feels like.
Well, and it's just like, I'm convinced, like having a kid has changed me, obviously, and I love him so much, but I'm like, you know why women are so stressed? We are constantly worried about our kids. Yes. This is just something that we need to learn to navigate now and like figure out, because you are just, even if you aren't the kind of person that worries all the time, like it is like you wonder, you worry, it's always in the back of your mind, right? So it's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing. It's a whole thing managing and it's funny because I say managing, but you really don't always have control of managing just like their safety and their happiness and their comfort level. And as you get older, you realize, oh, you can't give them all of that because then they want that and expect that.
Exactly. It's like you try to figure out how to put the bumper rails up when you're bowling, but then you got to like eventually like pull them back slowly and let them figure out what the gutters are, right? Like it's just
exactly.
It's interesting.
And I love that. You summed it up. It's a whole thing. And anyone who's had kids or even been a step parent, or which I got to do both, or if you were an aunt, even if you're the cool aunt, you have to worry about the kids when you're with them. So
always.
I am curious about, as we're going to bring faith into things, I'm so excited that we're having this conversation because this is season 3 for me. And every season I try to be more and more authentic and bring myself into what I'm trying to help women do. Because if I'm not opening up, how are women allowed to open up and be who they are unapologetically? And so I started sprinkling in a little bit about faith. And I was curious for you, did you grow up, did your parents take you to church? What was your story as a kid with your relationship with God?
Oh man, it has been a rocky one. I'll tell you that. So I grew up, my family was Catholic. So I got baptized as a baby. We didn't go to church like a ton. We'd go through like spurts of it, but I had a really hard time with just the whole concept of God and stuff because my upbringing was a little bit rough. There was lots of abuse and like had to grow up very quickly and, just not great living situations. And my dad wasn't the best person. His parents weren't the best people, battling whatever they were battling at that time, right? And they were also like physically abusive with us. And so, but then they'd be the first people in church front row. And I was like, I really, really struggle with that aspect of thing. It definitely tainted stuff for me. And then also as well, like we struggled so much, with so much growing up that I was just like, how could there possibly be a God that lets this happen? Like for me, I just could not grasp my head around it. So I went to Sunday school, I did the things, learned what I had to learn to pass the tests and get the communion and the confirmation and all those things. And then just really forgot about it. It was like a learn what you need to know to pass the test and move on kind of thing. And that's just really how it was after I lost my mom. I definitely started like diving, because I was like, I need to do anything to make myself feel better. Like, she was my best friend, like my closest family member. I didn't have anyone living close to me after she passed away. And it was just like, when I tell you I tried everything, I mean, I tried everything, different kinds of therapy, acupuncture, body work, stuff like digging into my faith, the Reiki, like anything that I could try to figure out to try and like deal with it. And so when I was working in my practice in the clinic, I had a lot of like people that would like kind of talk about it a little bit here and there and just like kind of sprinkle it in. So it got me a little bit more curious, and it was there, but I didn't like take it super seriously. And then met my husband, and his dad actually used to be a pastor, had like a church plant way back in the day and stuff. And so faith is like a big part of his life. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm open to it. Like I'm Catholic, like by baptism or whatever, how I was raised, but like definitely Christian faith. But like didn't really know much. Like I couldn't even tell you stories in the Bible and stuff. Like I knew like a couple, like the basics, but like that was about it. Like really didn't know much. And he invited me to church one day when we had first like started seeing each other. And I was like so nervous because I was so used to, like the Catholic service where it's like very strict and like there's structure and it's this prayer and then this song and like, all the very rigid rules and stuff like that. And so we went to an Alliance church. And it was just like, for me, it was very like teacher-esque, like very like felt school-like almost. And I'm, me, I'm a learner. I love it. And I'm like, oh, he's like teaching and like going through verses and explaining stuff. And like the music was good. Like it was like a very good experience. And like the message really spoke to me that day. It was about like what you need to let go of that's like hurting you. And like immediately thought about like my mom and like things growing up and stuff. And I'm like trying not to sob in church, but like there are tears like going down my face. And like his sister that I've met twice is like sitting beside me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what is happening? Like I gotta like keep it together. And so that really like sparked interest in me. And so then I started listening to different podcasts and stuff. So I had, I had always listened to Craig Groeschel, his leadership podcast, and then had no idea he was a pastor until like literally 2 years later. So I started listening to his sermons, and then like that kind of just led me down the road of like really being interested in it. And I started taking notes on stuff, and like I always found there was things that I could apply to business or to my life, or how to like speak to people to coach them better, or like to teach coaches things even. Like it was lots of identity stuff and like self-development, which we all know is so important, and like coaching and your health journey and things like that. But I never told people that's where it came from. It was just like, oh yeah, I started learning, I started reading. I never like brought it up because like talking about faith was so terrifying to me. Cause like, if you look back at my content 5 years ago, I used to drop the F-bomb all the time. It was like, eat your effing carbs, F this, F that, like it was bad. And so then like to where I am now, it's just like, it's a total shift, but it was like, just like slow exposure, little seeds being planted. And then once we got pregnant, it was just like, it was a way that I wanted to really raise our kids in. And then we finally we did some church shopping, found a church that we like really like since Gray was born, and like have joined like a little care group in that, where we meet like once a week and like, talk about things and our mission and stuff like that, but also like aligning ourselves with people who have similar values to us and things like that, and people who are in similar life stages as us in that church as well. So it's been like a very slow progression, but like I'm the kind of person, once I start like being into something, I am like low-key obsessed. Like the nutrition hormone stuff, it's like when I tell you I learned like an astronomical amount of stuff in like 1 year when I was like, oh, this is the thing. Like that's how it is. And so like I actually find it challenging to work sometimes, because I get like, I start my day with like prayer and devotional and things like that. And then I just want to like keep going. And I don't think it's a bad thing, but also I have deadlines, so it gets to be a little bit challenging that way. So that's a very long-winded way of saying yes in the church, but not really, had a hard time, came back around like 30 years later.
Wow. No, that's a great explanation because I think so many people start off. The reason why I asked that was very purposeful because I was the same way. I went to church because of my parents. And, my dad was a Marine, so we bounced around. We were all over the place, and we were usually in Presbyterian, Methodist, or Congregational churches, depending on wherever we were. And the one that we landed in, where I stayed the longest from the end of 7th grade, yes, moved fun times in the middle of 7th grade, to the end of high school, was a church that I got involved with the youth group. I was like a junior deacon. I did all these things. But what I felt like, and I was listening to you feeling it again, I was just doing the good girl things. I was just doing all the things I was supposed to do. Just check mark. I don't know if I had a relationship with God or if I really understood anything. I went through the confirmation. I went through all of it. And when I went to college, there was no one there to hold me accountable to that. So I just kind of dropped out. And when I met my first husband, and, I did say I want to get married in a church. And we tried to do the church shopping thing. He worked at an Intel plant on Sundays. Like they had shifts at that time. And so I didn't take accountability to go. And I also had a son. So I just had a baby and he was working. So I didn't take accountability to do it on my own. And it's interesting how when you do have a child, though, all of that starts to come back. But, and I'm so sorry again about, losing your mom. My situation was different. I went through a divorce when I came back to it. I was looking for the same thing. Like I have got to find myself. I've got to better myself. I've got to figure out, what am I missing? I'm missing, there's a hole in me and I know I'm missing something. And it started with Rick Warren's Purpose-Driven Life. I read that book. I'm not even sure how I got that. I'm not sure if I got it or somebody gave it to me, but it was the same awakening. And then I couldn't stop. And when I ended up being a single mom, on my weeks with the kids, we went to church. But it was funny, and I don't know if anybody ever said this to you, there were people that would say things like, oh, now she's so religious. Now she's, thinks she's this or she thinks she's that. Did you ever experience that?
Oh, man, I have had, people are wild. I will say that. You are bold, holy. Because I had how you can do the anonymous text boxes on social media where people can the things people were saying, I was like, oh my gosh. They're like, are you really that Christian? When I look at your TikTok and I look back, you swear it all the time. I'm like, first of all, Jesus loves me no matter what I do. So there's that. Second of all, I've changed and I've grown. And that's the best thing is that you're always just trying to be better. Also don't judge me. That's not your job. But it would be comments like that would come out and it's just whoa, this is, you should be excited, but it's funny because then I have other women who are I followed you and I love the content, but you swore, but I just let it slide because I like the content and I am just so glad that you found Jesus. And I'm like, oh, thank you. So there's two sides of the coin, but it's been really cool. People are it's been really nice to see your journey because you're sharing it more. And I think that's been really, really nice and something you connect with. And I don't know, it's been really cool to see the response. And I mean, some of the questions that I got in those question boxes too were you're pretty new to faith. How did you get into it? How do you find a church? How do you start learning? It seems very overwhelming. Oh my gosh, the Bible, that's a lot. It's very overwhelming. What apps do you use? What Bible do you have? And I'm like, this is amazing. It is so cool that I could play a part in someone being curious and wanting to explore that more, right? So it's been a bit of both where people are kind of judgmental and other people are excited, other people are curious. And I'm like, you know what? Either way, it's getting some sort of attention that I think is making people think about it more, which I think is awesome. Whether they decide to dive into it more or whatever it might be, I'm I think that's pretty cool.
Yes, we're here for that. I think that's actually one of our missions as Christians is to help educate. And I still feel like a baby Christian. I've been.
I say that all the time. I'm a baby Christian.
I'm at this all the time. What I think is amazing, though, is the post that you did that I saw that really drew attention to me needing to have you back on was that one where you were talking in such a loving, special way about Jesus and loving you. And, we're forgiven. He died for our sins, and we do sin all the time. And it's amazing that, he knows we're human and we're just trying to improve all the time. So I loved that. And I love your responses. But it is really interesting because people think they know a lot about you as soon as you have that label. And instead of thinking the good things, but we have to remember, I guess, that, we have to know there's probably an experience that they've come across or a person they've come across. And exactly what you said is what most people say to me is, I had someone say to me, "You're the nicest Christian I know. Most of them are hypocritical and they're one way inside church, one way outside church." And that's what you were saying about growing up. You felt like, how could people act this way? And then we realized, everyone's welcome. Everyone is welcome. Everyone's on a journey. Everyone is doing they're doing the best they can. They aren't always, but there's always that hope. Yeah.
Because sometimes people will justify it, right? They'll justify their poor choices. And I'm like, there's still a whole process of is this the right choice?
Yes.
Are you actually learning anything? Are you growing? That's a big part of it, right? So
yeah. And especially in your childhood, I think with abuse, it's just unbelievable. It's hard. And I can understand why you have that viewpoint for sure. And I'm curious, what do you think? I know there are other people out there who have businesses like we do. We're trying to run a business. We're online every day. We're talking. What do you think is the fear that some people have? Because I know I've had friends that do not share it. They do it in the name of possibly being inclusive to everyone. And I know that's a good side to it. Wow, something just fell off my off my table while we're talking. All by itself. Hello, God. But I don't know if it's really that or if it's fear. What are your thoughts if people are just afraid to put that out there?
I think it's fear of judgment, honestly. I think a lot of the times it's a fear of rejection, to be honest, is that people won't like me as soon as they realize that I love God. I love Jesus. I go to church. I'm a Christian, right? It's this fear of rejection and fear of there's a bit of insecurity or it comes from a place of lack. It's I don't want to lose a follower or whatever, right? I think that's a lot of where it comes from, fear of rejection, because we all want to belong. But also at the same time, I'm so I've read this book and I think everyone should read it. It's called David Perceives He Was King. And it is so good. I'm obsessed with studying David right now, obsessed. But it's all about identity. And so it's been so cool to read because it has shown me a lot of stuff that I totally wasn't aware of. And it's really changed my thinking. Because a lot of it's during times of crisis, it reveals your true character. How insecure are you, jealous, nervous of rejection, fear, all of these things. And it's that comes down to what you think about yourself and your identity. And so I recently had a mentor that I didn't vibe with super well, even though he was very Christian. So that was really hard for me because I thought it was going to be different, but it wasn't. And it is whatever. It is what it is. And when I left and decided no longer want to work with this person, they said some pretty terrible things. Because I was I know I'm going to be successful. I'm okay. I don't wish you ill. I just don't think we're a good match. I don't think our values necessarily match the best. I have very specific values that are important to me and just a few different things. And then he was I don't know. He's I don't know why you're saying oh, I'm going to be successful. Oh, I am successful. I know that I work hard. I'm going to do good. He's are you trying to convince yourself? And I'm you're assuming there's a level of authority there, right? I'm you're assuming that I'm weak and not confident and insecure. And I'm I'm telling you those things because I do believe them to be true because of what I know about the Bible and what Jesus says about me and who I am. I feel very strong in this. And when he said some terrible things about me, I was surprised. My first instinct was to pray about it. And I was God, I just need you to show me who I am today. Like, remind me of who I really am. Are those things true? Is there things I need to work on? And it was like a really great experience for me because my first reaction wasn't to like hide or not keep persevering or, I didn't want to quit and all these things, right? Like, because like the things he said, if he would have said to someone who was not confident in who they are, they would have quit. Like, they would not have tried to keep growing their business. They would not have tried to keep going. And so I was really proud of like, man, like my identity is really strong. And a big part of that is because of like what I believe to be true based on like what God says about me. And it's like, that's truth, that's fact. And that's helped me lead from a better place. Cause like when we lead from a place of like insecurity or jealousy, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, we are so focused on like the negative side of things that could happen that it like makes us play defense all the time. And we don't actually get to grow. We don't actually get to show people who we are. We're like curating this like fake image of what we want people to perceive about us. But it's like, who are you actually? Like, who are you? Like, do you even know that? Because like, if you don't, it's really hard to lead. It is really hard to grow and know what your strengths are. What are your weaknesses? What do you need to develop more? What kind of things can you really use that you are good at and like, amplify those things? What are the weaknesses that come with that you need to improve to help you lead more? And like, I don't think hiding who you are ever helps you grow because then you're going to have a following of people who believe someone who's not you. And then when you eventually do show who you are, you probably will lose some people because they don't believe you anymore. That level of trust is gone. So I've been very open about like, this is what I do now, and this is what I believe, and this is what I talk about. And do I talk about it all the time in my content? No, but I do sprinkle it in there. When I do talks with my client community, like I'll give like real world examples. And then I also give like an example from the Bible, like you sprinkle it in there. Because I think even if you aren't in it and you don't fully believe, or it's not like your religion or whatever, it's like you can still learn from the story either way. And so, and I think that's really important, and it's cool to like show people what you've learned and how you've grown. Like I'm like really proud of how I handled that situation. Like I was like, man, I really proved to myself like who I am. Like I am like very secure in this, and I don't know that I would feel the same way if I didn't have as strong of a faith as I do, which has been like really cool to experience. So it helps you keep going too.
Wow. I am proud of you because
Thank you.
because you have to think about too the way God's, plays out our story in our timeline. Mm-hmm. That came at the time that he knew you could handle it. And exactly. I love that you said you were very secure in who you are. And I think when we say things, and I know I say it a lot and I mean it, but I don't think people realize it's more than an affirmation or mantra that you are worthy, mm-hmm. you are deserving, yes. You are enough just because you exist. And mm-hmm. it's really hard for people to believe that if they don't have the backbone and foundation of the word, because we don't know the story, then we're just saying it. We're just saying it in emptiness. And I love the book. Would you tell me again, how David
perceived he was king.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is so good. Honestly, I think everyone should read it. It was a big one for me. And I think, I don't know if it was from this book or maybe it was from a podcast it was based off of or something, but there was the whole concept of like, God will never give you more than what you can handle. And everyone thinks about like, the struggle, but God will also not bless you until he knows that you're not going to throw it away. Like you're not going to give like your child a credit card when they're like 10 and expect them to make good choices, right? Like, they're going to blow all that money. Like it's the same thing with God. It's like, he's not going to give us like specific blessings until like he knows that we can actually handle it. So it's like, God will never give you more than you can handle, both good and bad. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that. And I think it came from this book. I can't remember, but it was like, that's something that has stuck with me since the day I heard it. I was like, oh, dang. Like, so when I get worried about like not reaching something or, we're in a slow spot or there's turmoil or I'm like just waiting, you feel like it's coming and it's never coming. And you're just like, okay, come on, I've done the work. Like, why are things not improving? Why are things not whatever? And so then I usually just pray about it. I'm like, hey, what am I missing? What do I need to grow? What do I need to like maybe forget or move on from? Or, is there a situation I need to learn from, or, some resentment or whatever that I need to let go of that's like preventing me from like receiving the next thing. And that's been super helpful. I cannot tell you how much like less stress I experience from that, because I don't feel like I have to control everything anymore. Like, yes, obviously as a business owner, there's a lot you got to do, but it's like, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. Like sometimes there's like certain people you got to meet first, experiences you got to go through, beliefs that need to be shattered, like things that you think about yourself, whatever it might be, before you can go to the next thing. And so it's been nice to be like, I trust you. It'll come when it's coming. I'm still doing the work, because you can't do nothing and expect things to change. But like, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. And like, it always does, right? And you can never figure it out until you look backwards, right? You can't connect the dots till you look back. So it just takes time sometimes, which is super frustrating. But there's always a rhyme and reason for it, right? And like, I'm not going to question it.
I do believe also that God, when he says no, it's not always no. Sometimes it's not yet. And we, like you said, the trusting, yes. And that's the part that we need to lean into. I want to go back really quick to, you made such a fantastic point. So for coaches and other entrepreneurs that are listening, if you're not being authentically yourself, then you're attracting a tribe that maybe you wouldn't necessarily work together well anyway. And it's almost better to cut that tie before it happens and just be 100%. Yourself. And then you only pull in the people. I had something really interesting happen that I didn't realize was going to be such a negative. I had a couple of videos go viral that were fun, and they had to do with emotional eating, and they were cute and all, but it didn't pull in my people. And so people think that just because a couple of videos go viral, that's like, oh, that's really cool, you had a viral video. And it actually was the opposite for me, because I serve women over 40, and I have all these guys on there now that are, now waiting for more fun stuff. And I'm talking about, how deep you need to dig into yourself to understand why you're emotionally eating in midlife and in menopause. And they're like, So it's interesting. Yep. Hopefully they'll take care of it themselves and move on. But it's like
cool though, because like I posted like a story one day about like working out to like, it was like, if you would have told me like 2 years ago I'd be working out to worship music, like I would have told you were crazy. And that actually caused some people to like book a call and start coaching with us, because they're like, that was like the thing. And it's like, just be you and figure out who you is. And like, if you don't know, read the Bible, because it will tell you.
It will tell you. All of it is in there. And that's the thing. And if you want to learn how to really live life, just sit in Proverbs for a while, and that'll give you all the rules. It's so amazing. That's where I am right now. That's why I'm saying that, because it makes me crack up. Yeah. By the way, today was about slow to speak, slow to anger, quick to listen. Yeah, God clearly needed to connect with me today. So the other thing that you were talking about, though, is really sitting in that and asking those questions. I think that about being ready or not ready, the other thing that I learned through my faith journey is I have to be very aware of the abundance that I already have. Gratitude. And just knowing what we have in our daily life and being so joyful and happy and seeing those little joys, it creates a whole different day. Like I walk into my day so differently, because when you go in, I had someone mention this the other day, the RAS, reticular activation system. So if you buy a new car that's this funky blue, and you're like, nobody else has this car, and then all of a sudden
and you see it everywhere.
You see it everywhere. And that's what I think of when we start the day. This is a great day of opportunity. I'm so abundant. I am looking for joy and beauty. You can't help it. Like it just shows up, and you're starting to attract it in a way. And so
people usually like just pray for stuff instead of like you only pray when you need something. And it's like, that's not a relationship. Like how annoyed would you be if the only time your child reaches out to you is when they need something? Like, you'd be pissed. Right? And it's the same thing. It's like, spend time together, tell them how much you love them, be grateful, count your blessings, practice gratitude. Like those things do matter. And I like, again, didn't realize that till like a little while ago, where I was like, man, like the only time I've ever like, yo, God, let's chat. It's like, you want something. That doesn't work that way.
Exactly. Please stop this from happening, as opposed to praising first.
Yeah.
And it is, I understand when people are struggling. I love that they can, really open, knock, and that door's open for them. And I'm also curious about, in your business, your thought process with women. So, for example, like body image. And now that we have this connection and we're really aware of identity and who we are you able to help women as they're going through this process? Because that's the biggest thing you and I hear about is they come in and you tell me, what's the one thing that they want?
Weight loss.
Exactly. That's it. And that is the only thing they're thinking about, and they want it now. So how do you help women who, like, knowing what you know now, to develop more than just the flat abs and no belly belly now?
Yeah. So we always talk about like the ideal day or the ideal you. And it's like, when you wake up in the morning, how do you feel? Who are you talking to? What are the thoughts when you look in the mirror? What are the foods that you're eating? What are you doing in your day? How is like your ideal Sunday spent versus like your ideal work day? How can we actually make those things happen now? Because it's like, yes, weight loss and like your self-image does play a huge important role in like how you feel about yourself. But also, if you look a certain way and you are lonely, you don't have someone you can talk to, you're not doing things that you enjoy, you're in a job that you hate, like you're not going to be happy. And so like we spend a lot of time on that aspect of things, but I have like a whole lesson on like values and virtues that I did with our clients that we always get them to watch, where we act like, we ask them like, what are your values and what are your virtues? Because when we're not in alignment with those, when our life doesn't reflect that, when we aren't making choices that reflect that, when we aren't feeling like those values and virtues are being met through relationships and work and our everyday life, you are miserable and you will be sick always. Like you have to have that alignment with like what's important to you. So like for me, a big issue for me, especially once I moved, was I didn't have my community anymore. Like I felt super alone, didn't know anyone. Now we're at a church where it's like we know people's names and we hang out with people once a week. I have a volleyball team now. Playing volleyball is very important to me. Being able to spend time with my family is important to me. Making sure I have time to read and study. When I don't get to read and study, like education and learning is like one of my big values and virtues. When I'm not actively like pursuing more education, I am not happy. Like I always have to have my fingers in something to feel like I'm like progressing. Otherwise, I know I'm not happy. And so it's like really helping people establish those things, because when you are happier, you are doing things that you love and that you enjoy. People are like, oh, I love cross stitching. I'm like, when's the last time you did that? They're like, 4 years ago. I'm like, okay, I'm literally sending you a little cross stitch kit from Amazon and you're going to start doing that. Because it's like, when we are able to actually be happy and feel aligned with those values and virtues, it's a lot easier to want to go for a walk. It's a lot easier to want to track your food. It's a lot easier to not give up. When you are lonely and you're doing things that you hate every day, the last thing that you want to go do is have a Greek salad. The last thing that you want to do is go exercise. You want to sit in front of the couch with a bag of potato chips, watching some garbage TV on Netflix, right? So people don't realize how much those things matter so much, and really understanding who they are. So in this book, we just did like a series on it without like getting too deep into like the faith-based stuff, but like just putting in principles and stuff like that, giving some examples from the Bible too, but about identity. And the exercise is like reach out to a handful of people who are quite close to you and then some that are slightly distant, and ask them what your 3 top strengths are. How you've impacted their life positively. What was your greatest influence on their life? And then a story that goes with it, and see what people say about you. Because sometimes we actually have this identity and we don't even know it. Like the things that came out for me, there were some things I thought was hilarious. People like your patience. I'm like, that is not a word I would use to describe myself. But like, it is part of my identity. I'm very patient with people. When it comes to myself, not so much, but with other people, I am very patient. I am very encouraging. And I was like, okay, resilience came up a lot, which I knew that was like a trait of mine. Risk taker was one, which I like didn't think about it. And then looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, I do just like, oh yeah, we're going to do this now. I'm going to invest in this and like, hopefully it pays off in terms of like the education, the mentor, the course, whatever. And sometimes it's great. And sometimes not so much. You learn some lessons and you move on. Right. But like, there are things that you don't even recognize about yourself that are true, that are part of your identity. And then the greatest part is like when you agree with someone's view of your identity or someone agrees with your view of like your identity, it becomes permanent. It becomes like, because you can think one thing about yourself and you're like, man, people don't see that I'm responsible now. That's so frustrating. So you don't actually fully believe that you're responsible because other people don't see it yet. And then when people agree with you and they're like, oh man, like, yes, I am a responsible human being. Or other people are like, oh, you're so patient. I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And then one day it like clicks and you're like, oh my gosh, I am a patient person. And then boom, that's your identity. So it's actually important to like see that, but pay attention to like, who are you listening to? If you have people that are telling you terrible things about you all the time, get out of there. You don't want that to be a part of your identity. Remove yourself from that situation, which is what I did with that one mentor I had, because I was like, this is not serving me. Like, I do not want this to be my identity. Do not speak those words into existence. Goodbye. I'm going to find people that like align with what I want to be, who I want to be, can see that, care about me. That is going to solidify your identity. And the way that you act, the choices you make are 100% always based on how you view yourself. Like you always act in accordance based on what you believe to be true about yourself. So if I think I'm an impatient person, guess what? I'm going to be snappy all the time, right? If I think that I am impulsive, I'm going to justify behavior that I make that are not good choices because, oh, I'm just an impulsive person, right? Oh, I don't make decisions. I'm indecisive. Like, oh, that's why I can't make a decision, why I'm not going to pursue this XYZ, pursue this dream, pursue this career, whatever it might be, right? And so like you are always going to make choices based on how you view yourself. So if you want to change your actions, you have to change how you view yourself, your identity. And so you need to find people that actually like tell you what is true. And I think that's a really great activity. Like we did that with some women and some women shared some stuff with me. And I was like, yes, like you finally see it. It's like, me saying it wasn't enough. Like you needed someone like who's known you for years to like confirm that. And now it's like, you can see it. They're happier. Like I almost get emotional talking about it. Like they're happier. They're thriving. They are like, compliance is so much easier. They're not like doing the binging anymore. Like it's incredible to see, but it's because they've changed how they viewed themselves. And so like, if you're pairing that plus the Bible and principles you learn there and like surrounding yourself with the right people, oh my gosh, it is so life-changing. And we have women that come into our program and yeah, they lose a bunch of weight. It's awesome. But the people who get this part first, their growth is like exponential. And usually they'll lose some weight and they're like, you know what? No, I want to be stronger. And so we start working on like resistance training even more so than we were before. Or it's like, you know what? I really want to do this, or I want to do a triathlon. I've always wanted to. Let's do that. We have a woman who decided she wants to do like this ultra bike marathon thing. And I'm like, I think you're crazy, but like, good for you. Let's do it. Like if this is your dream and part of your identity now, let's rock it. And she's going to be compliant because she wants to do well in it. Right. So you need to get that piece first. I mean, you can do other stuff too, obviously, but like, if you can get that piece first, like things change so quickly. And like, we know what like negative thoughts and stuff do to our hormones and our brain health, and like depression, anxiety increases, right? Like if you can align yourself with people who like confirm the identity of who you want to be, oh my gosh, you will be healthier, you will be happier, you will be fitter. It'll be easier to stick to your goals. You won't self-sabotage, because self-sabotage always happens when we revert back to who we were. Crisis happens, we start acting based on who we are. So if we haven't changed who we are, guess what? You're always going to be in this cycle of self-sabotage all the time. So it's super important. And like the faith aspect of things has helped me immensely, because now when like stressful things happen or, you know, there's stuff going on, like even my husband, he's like, you don't panic like you used to. He's like, you're just like, it'll happen. It'll work. It's fine. And he's like, it's so different. And I'm like, yeah, and it's clearly good for my mental health. Like to not be worried and panicked all the time, right?
I love that. And I think identity really is one of the first things we need to think of, because what happens, as we both know, our identity gets cracked as we get older because we hear things that people say and shame comes into it at some point in our lives. And we learn to work around other people based on conflict or based on meeting expectations or people pleasing. And I love how, even at the beginning, you talked about how faith has even helped you create better boundaries. And all of that really comes into play. That's a really beautiful place to start. And I love that exercise because
it's so good. You got to do it, Kim.
If you don't mind me stealing it, I'm taking it.
Yeah, do it. People need to know.
They need to know because in the world, like when we think about our thoughts, we have to create evidence for everything to believe it. And I think that's a beautiful way to do that. And Stephanie,
you'll be sobbing. People will tell you stuff and you will just start crying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing.
Well, this is why I love what you do, because it's not just trying to figure out what to eat, how to make the metabolism speed up, how to, all the things that people think it is. It's a whole body experience, and it's our mind and body. We are not separating now mind, body, and soul. No. We're not separating it. And I appreciate you. Thank you for being so open today.
Of course.
I love this conversation, and I think so many women, entrepreneurs, women in midlife coming back to faith or even questioning, it's never too late, by the way. I would love it if you would just share anything that comes to your mind that might be helpful for someone who is either trying to get back in. Maybe they've been in like us and then we took a long break. Maybe they're just dipping their toe in. Maybe think about those messages that you got that people were asking, how do you have maybe even just a little bit about your routine? Let's give a couple tips before we wrap up.
Yeah. So I definitely say try and find a podcast or a pastor or something that you enjoy, their personality. Cause there's lots. People have sent me stuff and I'm like, I cannot listen to this. I cannot, I just cannot. So you got to find people that are your dynamic. So just go on a podcast hunt for a couple of weeks. Try and find different pastors and stuff, look stuff up on social media. There's so many different ways, right? So I think that's always a good spot for myself. The way I like to start my day, I spend time with my family, eat breakfast, all those things. But before I start my work day, I sit down, I use the Bible app, so the YouVersion Bible app. I do the daily devotional that's in there. And usually they're very simple, very applicable takeaway things. There's a short little 2 to 4 minute video that kind of explains the one scripture of the day. Then it takes through a little prayer that you can do. So it'll give you a little scripture and then it'll be what are 3 things that you're grateful for today? Or it's what comes to mind when this when you read this, what do you think? And I found that was a really great way for me to start. I think today I'm on day 202 for a streak, and it's been so
one
great.
Another is today.
Yeah. Yes. And it's so great. And I really enjoyed it. And then there's specific Bible plans that you can do too, if you want to dive deeper into specific topics. So I did one on learning to hear from God, because that's something that I always want to improve on. So I did one on that. There's ones on gratitude or getting through tough times or jealousy, insecurity, loss, grief, you can just search anything in there and you'll get little plans. And I thought that was a really great way to get accustomed to it, and kind of dip your feet in. And then I just spend a little bit of time in prayer, and then I might do a little journaling, whatever that might look like, and then hop into my day. But it is just a very great way to kind of dip your toes in and peek around. Honestly, I love that app. The Bible plans are awesome. There's even one that you can do where you can read the whole Bible in a year. I haven't dedicated myself to that yet. But it is a really great way to just poke around, look for different themes. And that's a great way to find speakers too, because it'll typically be different pastors and stuff that have these different 4-day Bible plans, 5-day Bible plans. They're super short. And then you can learn whose style you like. And then once you find someone that clicks, it's very easy to want to binge their content and take things away. Honestly, I love Craig Groeschel. He's my favorite from Life Church. So I always think that's the person that I like to send people to, or even Erwin McManus. I really like him as well. But there's just there's different vibes, different cultures, right? So I think the Bible app's just a really great way to to explore that if you don't know where to start, because it can feel really daunting. It's like, do I just start all of a sudden going to church? Do I just like buy a Bible and start reading? Because there's a bajillion different versions of the Bible that you can get, like different styles, right? So, and that can be really overwhelming. So I bought a Bible, found it super hard to read, bought a different one that has like the application on the bottom, and like, so you have like the actual scripture above, and then underneath it like kind of explains it in like layman terms and like the themes that you should be looking at. And I find that really great. So just start small. The Bible app honestly is like probably where I would recommend most people kind of dip into first, because there's just so much stuff in there.
I stepped back into that years ago, and I'm still doing it just because I know, and I'm like you, but I think we're competitive with ourselves. The streak thing is really funny. If I think I'm going to ruin my streak, I'm like, at least open up and read, even if I don't get through the video and everything else.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think the plans in there are amazing. I've done everything
Super
from
helpful.
Just even anxiety to time management. There's so many things
There's
in
like
there.
leadership in there too. Like there's lots.
And I've been on because two friends have introduced me to Lisa Turkhurst, and I've kind of been on a kick with her. So yes, and when you're listening to this, make sure you drop a comment. Give us some suggestions. Give us some people you love. What are you doing right now? And I love it. Stephanie, thank you so much. I know this was so off of our menopause, metabolism, emotional eating track, but it's so good because it is the foundation of everything that we do. And I would love for you to just tell everybody, where can we find you so they can check you out?
Yeah, so the podcast is probably the best place to start. So the podcast is called the Metabolism and Menopause Podcast. But we also, you can follow me on Instagram at vitality.oet.stephanie. And then we also have a Facebook community as well. If you search Metabolism and Menopause by Vitality, that should pop up for you as well. It's the same name as the podcast, so it should be easy to find.
Yes, and I'll put all that in the show notes. Thank you. We are blessed. Everyone who listened today we're so blessed to have you here, and I appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
And everyone out there, make sure you nourish your entire life, and of course, give yourself grace today.